Well, I said when I find it, I'm going to show you. And I found it in the bottom of one of the boxes that I pulled from the little storage area. So this is a notebook that when I first started selling it on eBay, this looks like that into January of 02, I started keeping printouts of my highest dollar items that I sold. Most of these are probably going to be all music related since that's what I started with, and probably for auction because that's what you did back then. As you can see, this Depeche Mode promo CD ended at $155.53. My username back then, just_a_helfers. That's actually my Hotmail address that I made at the same time, so I'm still using it. But yeah, Depeche Mode Summer Tour 94 DJ promo CD. We got Tori Amos Under the Covers CD, sold for $75. When did that end? Can I see? Is there a date? 02. Okay. So we got Tori Amos Cornflake Girl Limited Edition CD single, sold for $74. Remember, I used to find all kinds of Tori Amos back in the day, CDs that were collectible. Cocteau Twins, a rare promo, sold for $66.75. This was in the end of 2001. Another Tori Amos, Silent All These Years limited single, sold for $63.81. In the end of 01. Great album right here, Rock City Angels, Young Man's Blues, ended at $62 back then in 02. Deep Inside My Heart, great song. Here's a Mobile Fidelity of Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, sold for $61. Breakin' 2 soundtrack, Electric Boogaloo, sold for $61. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles soundtrack, sold for $61. Hurricane Over the Edge CD, sold for $60. Living, great album. Over the Edge. I never pronounced that rightly, but that CD, rare 2x2, sold for $60. Guadalcanal Diary, something like that. I never heard it pronounced, so never knew how to pronounce it exactly. Got the Santa Claus soundtrack, sold for $57. Look at that, 356 feedback. I was just a little nerd back then, a little baby eBayer. Tori Amos, Pass from the Mission, another 2-disc single, sold for $51. 276 feedback. When they did the About Me stuff. Metallica Garage Days, sold for $51. Bull Durham soundtrack CD, sold for $51. Cha-ching. Oh, I remember these KFOG CDs. I was always on the prowl for these things, and I'd find them too. It's a live from the studio, so bands would play live in the studio, and then they would release them on CD. Some of these in the past I've sold for over $100, but that was obviously after I stopped doing this because it looks like I kept them in some kind of order here. But that one sold for $51, and that was volume 5. There was a bunch of different volumes. Volume 1 and 2, I believe, were the big dollar ones at the time. Nuts soundtrack. This is the only time I found this in the wild. I still, to this day, 23 years later, have only found this one time. Sold for $50. I'd be curious to see what they're going for right now, actually. I just got an offer for a Motley Crue CD for $35. Just came on the phone as I'm recording here. Tori Amos, Silent, All These Years single, sold for $46.01. And this is the same account that I have now, my big media account. This is one of my first ones. Check this out. So when I worked at the music store, this was a vinyl banner of Aaliyah. Could you imagine if I kept that now, what that thing's probably worth? Sold for $46 back then. I had 0 feedback. So that could have been probably the first item I actually sold. The first item I put up ended up being a non-paying bidder. So this could have been my very first sold item. I don't remember. But man, that's probably worth some good money today. This CD, I had tons of these I'd get. Dream Theater, Live Scenes from New York. This was released in 2001. Right at the time, or right before the time of the Twin Towers. As you can see, you got the Twin Towers, the New York skyline on fire. So they pulled these. So I went around before places were pulling them and bought every one I could. So that at the time sold for $45.01. So I ended up selling many of those. Bad News, self-titled CD. Sold for $44. The Urge, local band here. So these were released here before they were signed with Sony. So they were not on the Sony label. $41. You can still get some good money out of, I forget the title of the one that is still kind of a harder one to get. Body Count with Cop Killer, another CD I was always out looking for and finding. Sold for $38. Because the song Cop Killer was taken off the later pressings of that. Vain, No Respect, great CD. Love that CD. $36. It has been remastered and redone now. So I think it's only like a $10 CD now. I don't know how much the original actually goes for though now. Probably not much more than 10. Dale, Riot in English CD. Sold for $36. I'd always find that one too. See, back then, when I was doing this, a lot of the record stores, they weren't pricing online prices. They were just pricing like a flat $8 or $4 or whatever they felt like pricing them at. So I was able to find a lot of these CDs over and over again across the country. When we would travel, I'd go on vacations. I'd always find a bunch too. So I guess that's it. And there's one here that didn't make it in there yet. Tori Amos, Silent All These Years for $41. 619 feedback. So you see, I kind of got tired of doing it, it looked like. But I wonder... See, I found these, but they all say page 3 and page 4 on them. So like I printed them out, but that wasn't in there. So where's page 1 of this? So I can see what it sold for. Maybe oh, no. These papers are so... Oh, here we go. Okay, so page 1s are here. So we got 3 Amigos soundtrack cassette. back when you put not CD on there and not get in trouble. So that sold for $29.88 for that cassette. These papers are so old, they're stuck together. So here's a Tori Amos Little Earthquake. That sold for $25.04. Company B, I was always looking for that and finding that. Let's see what it sold for then. I'm going to say $36. $30. You see this was end of March and April of 2002. Fright Night soundtrack on cassette, another one. That sold for $34. All right, Tori Amos again, Silent All These Years. That's that one I saw already, that first one that we looked at. Next of Kin soundtrack. That sold for $30. Another Company B. Will this one be 36? Nope, 27. Went down a few bucks from the last one. Mourning Widows, Japanese import. Nuno Bettencourt's band from the guitarist of Extreme. Let's see what that sold for. Come on. Sorry, this is a pain in the butt. That sold for $30. 13 bids. And looks like we got another Rock City Angels CD. Come on. That sold for $26. Okay, Aircraft self-titled CD sold for $24. The Statler Brothers CD, 30th anniversary radio special. That was a promo CD. Sold for $53. Eastbound and Down Jerry Reed cassette tape. Sold for $13. Eastbound and Down, loaded up and driven. Scold, Tim Scold. He's the bass player of Shotgun Messiah. Then later on, he ended up working with Marilyn Manson and stuff. That sold for $33. That was a printout of hard-to-find CDs. There was a website back in the day called Kiss My Disc. He used to deal with a lot of the hard rock stuff that I would find and I had in my collection and stuff. So this is the CDs he wanted, so I knew they were. I just print them out to memorize them. Here's the Mourning Widows again. Did I have more than one of those, or did I just print them on different paper? That's the same one, I believe. Peter Mayer, local artist. He's a guitarist. Was the guitarist for Jimmy Buffett also. That sold for $31. That was a cassette. $31.50. John Snyder, Quiet Man cassette tape. That sold for $16.50. Howard the Duck soundtrack. Howard the Duck. That sold for $16.50. So that's it. So not much there. But kind of cool to look back on that. Kind of remember the old layouts of what eBay used to look like and such. The pages. So that's kind of cool. All right. Oh, I said I'd show you when I found it. There it is. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. See you all in the next video. Later.